This is Gerson, Gelin.
And this is R&B group. We'll see where this goes.
Oh, you got it.
I'm not playing, bro.
I know exactly what you mean.
Big faces like Gert.
You. This is
That's what I'm saying. That could be a really good thing, man.
It's the short because, but it's like we don't have to be okay all the time. And we're not okay all the time. We're human beings, bro. So there's ups and downs in the sense of at that moment maybe you were crying, maybe the real you was crying, but not in the sense of like crying, but in the sense of whatever situation you are going currently had you in that zone.
Yeah, real self.
Yeah, people, sometimes you crying or you're going through sadness or you're going through shit on the inside, but on the outside you can't see it.
Here's the thing.
Sometimes you're dealing with it in the inside.
We all deal with that, and like the wars we face every day, everyone needs a time where they can put off the armor.
Exactly.
And relax, man, and just be themselves.
But I feel like there's wars that like we go through internally that never sees
the light of
day. Like internal storms, like internal fights, struggles, like internal wars, and that shit, people don't see it. Sometimes shit like that spills over, and then people might see it because it spills to the real world. Maybe it started in the real world, but sometimes shit just happens and just you fighting shit in the inside, and then
it happens, yeah.
And then you heal, but sometimes you heal.
And you heal by expressing it, by feeling it, and really being real with it.
And that applies to me too, but it's like when you don't. Yeah, you want to get to a point where you've healed. Don't think like you have to be healed 24/7
or 24/7, yeah,
or like all the time. Sometimes shit you heal and then some other shit comes up. All right, check off. I healed from that. Something else you haven't healed from, or
you have to work on.
Yeah, or where like something you might heal come back. Now you gotta re-heal. So you feel me? It's never. It's just as you live. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you talk. I'll be on a 10.
No, you're good. That's actually beautiful, man. It actually reminds me of what Goodwin Collection and what Max is about too, because you can talk about more than I can with that end. The Goodwin Collection is like, you have the Storm Collection, which is like, you go through storms in your life, you go through things in your life you can't control. But those things give you the strength to say, to pull from yourself to say, okay, now I define what the storm means to me, versus having me defined by the storm, or defined by the adversity, or defined by things around me. And I feel like with Max is kind of the same thing, because the making quality and then independent variable. You have the X where it's like you define, you decide.
Keep it a whole beam with you. Like when it comes to Max and the clothes, it's like I don't know how it is with you in music, or I don't know. Do I'm gonna describe it? It's like I don't know how to describe it, but even what I just said, all that I just said earlier, I don't even associated with Max, if you get what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
It's like
I know exactly what you're saying, bro.
I do so much. I compartmentalize things now.
So it was a spirit. It was like your spirit.
Yeah, because we were talking about music and being vulnerable. So I was just like, that was the mindset I was in, which is weird. And then when you said Max, I'm like, that shit do exist. Because I kind of forgot about it.
No, I do the same thing with like songs. People bring up a song, they'll be like, "Oh, what did you mean about this?" Or like, "You said this." I'll be like, "I don't know." Like, I was me like a year ago or 2 months ago.
Or even you in a different mood,
space,
different space.
vibration.
Exactly.
Different, like a different color, like purple, red, blue, orange, green, white, black, whatever.
But that music shit you said, I just thought about it, and you could apply it to other shit. Where you just, bro, it's like, it's weird, bro.
The Saturn, like or the god Saturn, or the entity or energy of Saturn, because Saturn is all about the expansion of the universe, but it's in the form of being limited. Being limited doesn't mean that you're less. Being limited means that you understand the role that you're playing in that time. Even deeper than that, I think, if you look at the person in history, or in a space that we know of that's been through the most stuff, it's black people first. But then another story that you see, like where people have been really going through something, is the story in the Bible of Job, and the other one is the story of Jesus. Because he was going through this.
Was the dude who got rich and got poor.
Right. Job, it was like, Job, and this is perfect because it's the exact example. Job was very prosperous. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He was living very large, but he always thanked God. He always gave for all he had, and every day he would make an offering just in case his children sinned, just in case they did something wrong. He was a solid dude. Satan comes before the Lord, and Satan in this instance, from my understanding, is Saturn, but it's a whole different thing, a mystic thing. But when Satan comes before the Lord, he goes, God goes to Satan, consider my servant Job. He said, look at Job, he's perfect in all his ways, meaning complete, perfect in all his ways. He doesn't do wrong. He brings his offering before me. He does everything right. What do you think about this? He's basically saying, like, I got one. Yeah. And then Satan goes, well, he doesn't worship you for no reason. You give him everything. Take away everything he has, and he'll curse you to your name. And Satan obviously knew that, in some way, that may have been true. But he was. It's a paradigm. Certain.
You can't dwell on the negatives too long, not thinking there'll ever be positives again. And then when there's positives, just know, there's positives now, but tomorrow might not be positive, but also just bask in the positive. But just know, don't be too sad when it's not positive time. But it's a balance, and then don't dwell in the negatives when you're in there too long, because you don't think there's no positives coming, because they will come. So you have to want the positive when you're in the negative, and you gotta know positive exists when you're in the form.
Exactly. One thing that I deal with sometimes is spirit, which I talk about God. It will show me something, be like, this is happening. Recognize the pattern here. And I want it to be a good time. I want it to be a good day. I want it to be something. And I'd rather know, because the difference between knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is knowledge is knowing, being aware. Wisdom is taking action on that knowledge, and understanding is the fulfillment of both. You're more aware, and you take the action. To be prized more than gold and riches is wisdom, because wisdom is not just knowing. Wisdom is understanding and knowing. It's like a cup. A cup has the capacity to hold water, right? But the cup also has the capacity to be empty. This is ignored a lot. So you can be poured into, right? And you can be used to pour into others. But the whole lesson is not either or. The lesson is that there's both, because if the cup could just be full, it wouldn't be valuable. Because it would never, it's just full, like it's stuck there. It's not a cup.
There's no space to add.
Exactly. And that's what the negative and positive is. You have the positive is being added to. Yeah, the positive is being added to. The negative is being taken away from, so we can be added in a different direction.
So just because you're in the negative, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Exactly. Just like Job, he was in a terrible situation, but it wasn't for evil. It wasn't for bad. It was to prepare him for a lesson, and a lesson he was even teaching God, because God was saying,
"Oh, that's crazy."
Yeah,
that's because the cup's not holding water. That doesn't mean, because if it's always full, there's no space to add. So it's reached its plateau.
Yeah, you have to be able to minimize and
by pouring into others and giving them more.
Pouring to others.
And then you have less, gives you room to receive more for others to pour into you. That's why you should give. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a give. It's a giving and receiving. And receiving is giving. Giving is receiving.
Baby, why don't you decide? I hear you call and love me after dark. Then you're gone. Then you're gone.